When do labels become harmful? If I say, I'm an introvert, I'm a perfectionist, I'm easily distracted, those statements can sound like self-awareness, but there's a lot of research now from people like Kristin Hill or from Carol Dweck that's showing that those kind of labels can trap us. So for example, for most of my life, I've thought of myself as a perfectionist. And that felt really true. If I look at school and I look at work, there were lots of times where I would spend 2 days doing something that took my friend 3 hours, or I would over-focus on the details. But recently I've started to question that. There's all of these other parts of my life where I don't act like a perfectionist at all. I cut my own hair. I'm probably too experimental when I cook. So what's going on here? What I realize is that perfectionism doesn't really describe me. It describes all these moments where things feel high stakes. So anything where there's a lot of pressure on me, I'm worried about disappointing myself or looking cringe. So that made me curious about what's actually happening when we use identity labels. You might have heard of the idea of confirmation bias. That's when you internalize a belief about yourself and all of a sudden your brain looks for the information that supports that belief. This confirmation bias can make labels really dangerous because they become very broad. They become part of the story that we tell ourselves. What the psychologists Marcus and Nurius called self-narrative. The most popular example of this might be fixed versus growth mindset. If there's students struggling in a math class and they're telling themselves, I'm dumb or I'm bad at math, those fixed identity labels predict lower resilience and lower effort. And that makes sense because why would you put effort in if there's something wrong with you that makes it impossible for you to do the thing you're being asked to do? I think it's much harder for people to see this in themselves as adults. Saying I'm an introvert can give me languages for my preferences. It can help me connect with people like me. It can also help me feel guilt-free if I just skip out on a party that my friend invited me to. But that same label can also limit us. If we move to a new city, it might stop us from meeting new people. It might stop us from taking on a work presentation that could have led to a promotion. So what do we do if a label is getting in our way? One thing we can do is to shrink the label. So instead of saying I'm a perfectionist, say I tend to overthink when things feel high stakes. This does two important things. One, it shifts your perspective from fixed identity to something more situational that allows you to expect different outcomes. And two, it also shows you self-compassion.